The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this pre-harvest webinar. We're going to give our attendees just another minute or two to finish getting logged on, and then we will go ahead and get started. All right, it looks like we have folks kind of dialed in here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My screen tip. So just a few housekeeping things as we get going here this morning. Thank you for joining us again. We do have everyone's lines on mute just to eliminate background noise. And I do have a few of you that are already using the chat function in the bottom right-hand corner, or excuse me, in your GoToWebinar tool. So feel free to send a question in there and we'll answer those at the end. So go ahead and type those in there if you're comfortable. Otherwise, you can unmute your line by hitting *6, and we'll do that at the end. We also wanted to support our local businesses with our grower meetings as if we were doing them live and got to have a catered event. But in this time of social distancing and trying to be efficient with time, we are doing these virtually. So thank you for joining us. But we are going to be giving away some $50 gift cards. And I got to give props to our location managers today. They got us some really sweet gift cards. So we'll be announcing about 10 names, 10, 12 names here at the end of folks who are going to win gift cards for joining us today. So hang on till the end. With that, I will turn it over to Matt Carstens, our president and CEO.
Thanks, Alicia. Good morning, everyone. I really appreciate all of you being a part of this as, you know, it's a different time for all of us with what's going on with COVID and different things in our industry, but it means a lot to myself and even as much and more for our employees to have this kind of attendance as we head into the busy fall season, which is ahead of us. A little bit about my background. I joined 5 months ago. I've spent a lot of time even during the COVID event getting to know all of you, our employees, and really looking at where we need to really take Landus as the cooperative that you own. I'm from this area that's represented here today, originally from Bagley, Iowa, where we raise corn and soybeans, some hogs, back in the day some cattle, and I'm really proud of that heritage that I've got, and using that to assist this cooperative to make the strides that it needs to for the future. I want to also start by saying that our thoughts are still with those that were hit very hard by derecho and that damage. You can drive anywhere in this geography and see tons of that, whether it's in the fields or even to property damage. And as Landus, we were a little more fortunate where we did have a couple locations that had some damage, but in most cases we fared extremely well versus some of the others that we compete with or partner with even at times. But we're fortunate for that and want to make sure that we've extended our olive branch to all of you as our farmers and even our competitors to assist where we can to utilize the good fortune that we had during that unfortunate event. A couple general items for me. First, what you're going to see on this call that is different for Landus is that your employees at your locations are now empowered. In fact, you're going to get to hear from several of them during this event or call. And it's important that our employees are empowered because they do know your business. They understand what you're going through, what your challenges are, what your opportunities are. And it's important that we engage them every single day and allow them to have the power they need to serve you in the best way possible here at the cooperative that you own. So I hope you get a chance to really see and feel that difference as some of them talk and as we answer some of your questions and engage others in that discussion as well. The last thing is we get into a little bit of a discussion around the locations and what will be changing or staying the same, even in some cases for fall, is that COVID-19 is still here. And I know we're all tired of talking about it, and there's varying degrees of where everybody sees this affecting our society. But it is essential that we are able to be here for you through fall. And losing an employee for a few days, a few weeks, or longer is not an option. We don't have that kind of depth on our bench, and we shouldn't to be operational efficient. So it's important to note that we are going to continue to have strict COVID-19 guidelines to not only protect our employees and ensure that they're here to serve you, but also to protect you as our farmer owners. That's an important part of what we should do, obviously. So I ask you to understand that no matter where you sit on that topic, that it's important to protect our employees and to protect you so we all get through fall in a very safe and healthy manner in a prosperous way as well. So with that, I want to turn it over to Jay Sturtz, who is our regional general manager for this area. So Jay, I'll let you take it over, and thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks, Matt. I'd like to thank everybody for getting on this morning. As you can see on the map, the Southwest Territory is the Southwest, of course, part. 16 locations, think of Jefferson, and head west along Highway 30 and drop pretty much straight south to cover that. My role as regional managers, I work with the locations and their teams to make sure they have all the tools and everything they need to make sure they're successful. My background is I started back in 2000 with West Central as an FSA. After 8 years with West Central, I had the opportunity to go to FC in various roles there. And then here I am now back with all the great teammates with West Central FC and now a great company, Landus. So that's my background. I'd like to introduce Ethan to get us kicked off, and Ethan can introduce himself and tell us about his locations and the changes that have been made there.
All right. Good morning. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Excited to be here with everybody. I, like Matt and Jay, am glad that everybody's here, and thank you for attending. Obviously, wish we could have done this in person, but I think we'll have that opportunity as we move forward into the future. Hoping I don't have anything on my face. I've got a couple of text messages this morning, and I'm guessing those are in jest. So hoping everything's looking good from you guys this side of the screen. But so this year, getting started out at Jefferson, we shouldn't have any changes to the traffic pattern of the overall layout of the facility. This year, the one thing that will be a little bit different is the way that we're organizing and setting up our deliveries. So I would encourage everybody to reach out to the location, reach out to Chris, Amanda, or Cynthia, and get those deliveries set up in advance so that we can have the paperwork and all of that designed and ready for you when you show up at the facility. Matt and the team, the operations team, we've spoken a lot and have everything prepared for any eventuality that we might come into this fall, and are glad to be there for everybody as we go through this challenging time. At Dawson, I believe that's next. At Dawson this year, no changes to our traffic pattern. We expect to handle grain the same way that we did in the previous year. One of our different changes that we're really excited about is our new employee in the office, Julie Roberts. She'll be handling all of our customer service detail in the office, and we're really excited to have Julie. I've had a lot of great feedback so far for what she can do for us. Ryan and the outside team have been doing a lot of work in the off season here to get everything prepared, spruce up the facility, and make sure that everything's ready for you all coming in this fall. And lastly, at Yale, wanted to make sure that everyone's aware we have a new face in the office. Gina Shepard has joined the team, and she'll be our customer service specialist. She's really excited to do a fall harvest. She had been previously a member of our QMS team, and she's really excited to get to know the farmers in the area. Her and I actually spent some time on the road yesterday, getting out and meeting some folks and checking in on storm damage and that, and she was really excited to be a part of that. No change to the delivery process at Yale this year. One thing that will be a little bit different that we're incredibly excited about is we'll be starting construction on the new feed mill. We shouldn't have that affect our traffic pattern at all, but it's something that we should be aware of in the process. Lou and Dave have gotten everything ready, and have been thinking about what the challenges that might present us in that area will be with the down corn and the potential for other issues, and are ready to be adaptive and agile to making those changes. So we're excited for that. To kind of wrap up my portion, a little bit about myself. I joined Landus a little over a year ago after spending nearly a decade on the river systems with a company called CGB Enterprises. My last posting had me in Louisiana trading barge freight, and with a 2-year-old and a baby on the way, my wife and I decided it was time to get back to good old Iowa, and the place where the corn grows tall, and everybody knows the answer to the question, is this heaven? So my wife's originally from Grinnell, Iowa, and my in-laws still live there, and I grew up in southeast Iowa in the little part that hangs down and looks like Florida. So we're a lot closer to grandparents, and they appreciate that. So I'm excited to see everybody this fall. Hopefully we'll get to see you before then, but if nothing else, when you come in, say, hey, let's talk and see what we can do to help you out, as we know you're going through a challenging time. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate it. Like Ethan said, he's been here a little over a year. He's been a great addition to the team, and glad to have him on board. Next, we'll kick it to Jeff Mason and let him discuss his 2 locations and give a little background about himself.
Good morning, everybody. So I am Jeff Mason. Been with the company for 13 years or so. So started out my career shortly out of college with Farmers Cooperative, working at the Yale location. Ended up at the Perry location as a applicator, running equipment, spreading fertilizer and spraying and such. Took about 1.5 years off as we started our family at home. We've lived in the area for the past 20 years, primarily in Jefferson for the last 18. As my career advanced, took a position as logistics coordinator with West Central out of Jefferson. Did that for about 5 years, moved up into operations management there at Ralston for 4 years, and the past 4 years have been down here at Bayard and Dedham, being a location manager. So the past couple of days, as I reached out to many of you customers to let you know some of our intent with this meeting, as well as shared your perspective and mine on the storm damage, it was good to hear from you all. Diving into the content, traffic pattern at Bayard, we're not going to see any changes. The one ask that I have is please do display your delivery number while you're on the scale. And once you're coming back to the scale, we alternate inbound and outbound. So please take your turns in and out. Last year we had some traffic jam up. So please be cognizant of that as we go forward. There, we might call some audibles if things get hairy here. You'll see the map. So off to the east side, there's the truck scale. You pull in, you go to the west, down to Main Street. There's a stop sign. The guys down there, they'll let you know where which pit you're gonna be at, whether it be the west side of the road or the east side of the road. If we're using the elevator, if we get to the point of using the pile, they will direct you to go west to the pile and dump. That's really all I have about that. Matt talked about COVID. Generally speaking, please follow CDC guidelines. We're still dealing with threats in the area, and if you can limit your business to coming inside, we're not excluding anybody, but just trying to keep everybody healthy. So do your part, please. As far as what's new this year, last year we actually rolled out with the customer app. We do have a low use rate at both locations. I'd like to see that improve, so please reach out to your customer service specialist or myself. Let us know how we can assist you better. We like to update our hours on using that app, and it helps you guys be more efficient on in the field. Moving on to some of the employee changes here at Bayard. We've got a lot of additions that we've added this year. First off, customer service specialist Emily Chapman. She transferred from Yale location. Many of you have seen Emily over the years. She started her career here with Landus as a part-time person or seasonal person. Next up is Trevor Heckenberg. He's an ops tech. Trevor just joined here about a month and a half ago. Isaac Ireland, he too's new. He just joined here a few weeks ago, as well as Nick Sneller. He is our operations management associate. You'll see Nick floating around between grain, agronomy, the office, and all the above. Next up is Dedham. At Dedham, no traffic pattern there. Similar stance to Bayard, take your turns coming in and out. And the one improvement that we have this year is that we added a mailbox there at the northeast corner of the scale. That is where you'll get your scale tickets. You know, the hope there is that will make you more efficient coming in and out, and potentially get an extra load or two in a day's time rather than parking your truck and taking 5 minutes every load. That being said, you heard Ethan talk about some of the delivery number changes coming in and out to help facilitate things as you deliver grain. Please get a hold of Jamie over at the Dedham office, and she can help you get those delivery numbers set up ahead of time and help define those splits. It's not typically something that we can do on the fly as quick as we were in the past now. So I mentioned Jamie. She is our new customer service specialist. She just came on board in January, and glad to have her there. Let us know if we can do anything to assist you this fall. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I got to share one fun fact. So if any of you don't recognize me, when you see me, be nice to me. I'm the guy that comes around and cooks those delicious ribeyes, hot dogs, and hamburgers during harvest. Love doing it. To support our local businesses, last year in the Southwest region, we grilled up and served 1,585 ribeyes, 300 hamburgers, and 100 hot dogs. And the team, the locations absolutely love doing it. When harvest starts, we'll get that out to everybody. It's a great deal, and we appreciate your business. And I look forward to seeing everybody this fall. Matt, we'll kick it back to you.
Thanks, Jay. And just a little feedback, Jay, for you that I got from some of our farmers as I've toured around is that those ribeyes, hot dogs, it's a great deal, but maybe you don't have to cook all of them to a complete charbroil. So just some feedback that you might take into consideration since they do own us, okay?
Yeah, we don't want to get anybody sick, but if they want them raw, they just got to tell me.
All right. Alicia, I think we've had a little bit of a technical challenge that you wanted to check on here, so let's pause and allow you to do that.
Yes, thank you. And by the way, Jay, I like my steaks medium well, so I'll come around and eat your steaks all day long.
Good to know.
Don King is our EVP of grain, and he'll be joining us for the Q&A section. And I just want to make sure that we can hear Don and Don can hear us. Don, can you give me a vocal check, please?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Okay, we're good now. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Don. We will keep going, and we'll get to those questions at the end.
Absolutely. And for our farmer owners, what you just saw there is that Don is not the most technology inclined employee we have. So it's probably good he's running the grain business because that doesn't take a lot of the technology. So we apologize, but Don, we're glad you're on. As I move into the portion here of our business as a whole, I wanted to share just a few things with you that you should start seeing and expecting from Landus as we look to the future. First is this word advocating or avocation. And it's something most cooperatives don't do. It's something that we clearly have done very little of in the past here at Landus. But as we look to the future, there's no doubt this is not your grandparents' cooperative. It's a different time. It's a different time because the world is changing. In fact, you can see it right in front of us that the word agriculture as an industry is becoming less, having less ability to stand on its own. Agriculture now is a key component of the food industry. It's an important part of the energy industry, particularly fuels. It's a part of, in other parts of the United States, it's a part of the fiber and clothing industry. Ag now plays in those sectors. So the day of us just being able to deliver our grain or our livestock, wherever that needs to go, and not having to worry about consumer expectations and specs and all that is gone. It's a part of something different now. And when you think about just our last year, which some of these are going to be distant memories to you, but I'll remind you, it's been less than a year. We've dealt with things like trade, of course, COVID, derecho, government payments, the Farm Bill, rural communities and the challenges and opportunities that exist for us to keep those alive and a part of your farming operations and us here at Landus. And just the supply chain as a whole, as we tackle things like sustainability, consumer expectations, confusions our consumers have around GMO or gene editing. All these things are real for agriculture. And all these things are absolutely things that can be tackled and dealt with accordingly. But we have to have a voice. And that voice should come from your cooperative, owned by farmers. In fact, there's a statistic I remember from my years gone by that as a consumer, they view farmers in the same way they view puppy dogs, very positively, in case you're curious what that means. And we've got to take advantage of that by letting your voice be heard authentically through the company that you own, not through associations or government or other things that also consumers don't trust. They trust you. They trust the businesses that you own. And we will spend the necessary time finding ways to allow that voice to be heard. No greater example was that than after derecho, Secretary Ag, Mike Nag, called me and wanted to know how we were doing as a company, but more importantly, how our farmers were doing and what do we need to be doing as a government to help them. That's the kind of voice we want to have within hours of that hitting, having that kind of representation and move that through. In fact, yesterday I was on a call with him and his staff on other topics with other industry leaders. So it is an important part of what we do. And I want you to know that we're going to be doing that for you. And that if you've got challenges or that you feel that you're not being heard or that government or other parts of our life aren't representing you in the way it should be, we're here to help and here to do that every day. There's three things that are our critical success factors as a company. And obviously these fall underneath that avocation umbrella that I just spoke about. Some of these you've heard me talk about, and some of these may be new to you. But first and foremost, I want to be very clear and not mix any words. We are here for you. You own this company, and we respect that. So what you need to know is that every decision, every action that we take will be centered around you and what's best for you. And I'm not saying we've done that well in the past, but I can assure you as we look to our future, that will be the crux of everything we do. Not that every decision we make will meet and exceed your expectations, because there's a balance in those decisions that we've got to make in serving 7,000 farmers with a whole host of differentness between each farmer. But it's important to know that we are listening. We are here and we respect the ownership model that this is your cooperative. Second is I've already talked about, employees will be empowered to go back to point one to make sure when you're in our office or on a phone call with them, that when you have a need, they can address it on the spot for you. Or if they can't, that they're one phone call away to being able to help that situation or address that need. That must be the way we operate. And again, I'm not sure we've done that as well as we should in the past. A lot of decisions were made in other locations at the corporate office. I can assure you of one thing. The person you don't want making those decisions are me. I don't know your business. I'm not going to know your business as well as our employees do. They have the power to do that. And we would have turned this company to them so they can have that influence and positive effect on your life and what you're trying to do within your farming operation, again, as the cooperative that you own. And last but not least is that we've got to lean into the future. The future is a great place, I believe, for agriculture as we find ways to better address consumer needs in the food and energy sectors, how we become a part of that with technology, how we use data in a way that is protected for you, but in a way that data maybe become a revenue source for you. And today, think about all the people accessing your data, and the power that they get from that data is absolutely essential to all of our future. But we also know that data comes at a cost. And we, as your cooperative, must find ways to lean into that future and bring revenues back to you for the great data that you have and for the ability to people to access that. So with that, I want to touch on each of our business units very quickly. In agronomy, there's really 4 things that we're going to move forward with diligently. First and foremost is we've got to have best-in-class owner-farmer experience. And what I mean by that is when you need a product, it needs to be there for you. You need a line that's very short to be filled up, or product delivered out to you, or applications on time when you need it. And we've got to hit on that on all cylinders. As a matter of fact, that is the sole crux of any agronomy business. We cannot miss on this number one. So I assure you, Ryan Risdall, who leads our agronomy team, who's on vacation, not able to join us today, is very rifle focused on this area and will deliver. Number 2, driving operational efficiency. And you're going to see this throughout the slides. It's a must-have. We can't have a lot of fat, a lot of inefficiencies in our systems. And we must deliver that in agronomy as well. We've got to align the supply chain. Today, we compete as your Landus up against folks like Helena and Nutrient, or CHS and Growmark, that all are in a 1 or 2 step system. And what I mean by that is when Nutrient mines a phosphate or potash product, they mine it themselves and take it all the way through the supply chain to you. That's a 1-step system. And today, Landus competes in a 3-step system. We have got to find solutions to that, and we'll have that resolved as we look to next spring, that we are taking levels and different hands that are in the pot today of this agronomy supply chain and taking those out to ensure we're more competitive, but to more importantly ensure that we can deliver on number 1, that we do have the best-in-class owner experience. And last is we want to work with our neighbors. I think there's been an element of, need I say, arrogance to our company, and we're all in this together as agriculture. And we saw that during derecho. One of our competitors was hit extremely hard, losing almost 60 of their grain bins. We have extended the olive branch. We will be working with them and sharing our good fortune to make sure that we are good neighbors, and that your ownership, as it may be unfortunately for Landus and other companies as well, that we're supporting that in addition to what we do for you here at Landus. On our grain business, we've got 3 that really drive where we need to go. First and foremost is we are here in the grain business for origination, buying grain from you. And that's an important part that I think we've also lost sight on from time to time, that we've done a really good job of, once we purchase the grain, being able to merchandise that grain in an effective manner. But the job starts with being here for you. Even finding ways to work with feed mills that aren't ours, or ethanol plants, or other processors through that value chain. We're here to support you, whether it's on-farm storage or grain that you bring us. We're here for you. And you're going to see a big difference in this area, especially under Don King's leadership. Second is, once again, operational efficiency. But in grain, it's a little different. It's about maintaining the grain quality, reducing the drying, reducing transferring. Just in case you're curious, transferring and hauling grain is not a sport. I think we've lost sight of that as an industry, let alone here at Landus. We've got to minimize that. And the biggest thing, especially as we look at shipments to ethanol plants, feed mills, or just rail out of our facilities, is mixing and blending, reducing the drying, being able to take some of that lower quality grain at less pain for you and blending that off. Those are all important parts of this journey that we do to be operational efficient. And last is expanding our strength today, which is merchandising. There's no doubt, with being on all 7 rail lines in the state of Iowa and being the only company on all 7 rail lines, we've got real power in the merchandising arena. but we have got more opportunities that we've got to explore. This is a global market. And some of you remember the day when we had people from Mexico coming up on a regular basis to visit our facilities. We've got to get back to that. But we've got to expand that, not just in Mexico, but in South America, in India, in China, and even right here in North America with, yes, Mexico, but also Canada. There are great opportunities for us to be able to export your grain, and especially as we look at the future with ethanol continuing to have tougher days ahead with the invention and continued drive of electric cars, oil waivers on down the line. This is an important part of the business that we need to be here for you long term. And you saw that it come to light during COVID with the ethanol plants shutting down and some of those still not reopening. On our animal nutrition side, we're really excited, particularly in this geography that's on here today, to announce the feed mill that we'll be building in Yale. But part of feed goes beyond that. We've got to reinvent our feed business, starting with elevation of opportunities for you, our farmer owners, and other customers that we serve. Elevating those opportunities are essential, and finding those unique opportunities and ways to bring those back to our farmer owners in the animal nutrition side is important. And lastly, in feed is putting the Landus brand in the forefront of everything we do. We have a lot of partners in the feed business, there's no doubt. And we're proud of those partners. But this is your company. This is your brand, Landus. And we need to forget about those partnerships and the branding on that side and make sure it's your company that's highlighted as we go forward. And a lot of you are aware that we've got a dairy nutrition plus business that we do out of Ralston and Jefferson, a big part of our animal nutrition strategy. We've got a lot going on there, and I'm very excited about the future that holds in our dairy side as well. First and foremost in that business, or you may know it as DNP, is innovation. Innovation, not just in opportunities that are new products, processes, partnerships, but in new species. We can expand beyond just the dairy side, expanding beyond the monogastric animals that are out there. And we need to do that. We need to do that very quickly because there's pressures coming our way in those products that we sell into that marketplace. We sell those products in over 25 countries around the globe, which should allow us to really utilize our supply chain better, whether it's back to the grain opportunity I ended on there on grain, or utilizing high oleic or non-GMO. All are unique opportunities that we need to take advantage of. In fact, we just got done with a call with a major ice cream manufacturer globally, talking about ways that we can use this portfolio in dairy to help them better merchandise products all the way through to the consumer. Those are opportunities I think you'll be proud of as we bring them right here back home to Landus and all of you. So with all that said, I want to end with leaning into the future, which may be the area that has a lot of confusion or even opportunities that you may see in it. And I believe opportunities are exactly what lie in this space. Like I mentioned, with things like the ice cream manufacturer, there's great opportunities here. But when I think about leaning into the future short term, it's about data. And I've already touched on this fairly well in the opening comments, but it's about data relative to your profitability, sustainability, traceability, the whole integration of how we use data. Think about a day where data could be worth more from the commodities you produce, livestock or a grain, worth more than those commodities themselves. And it's not that hard to believe because there's industries that has happened in. And as we see the younger generations coming more and more into the fold, they want to know more about the food they're consuming, the data behind it. And think about that. In the United States, they're not worried about are they going to eat or is the food they want to eat, whether it's a corn product, which is over 4,000 of those on the grocery store shelves, or a meat product, or whatever the case may be. They know they're going to get that. But what they want to know now is how is it made? How healthy is it for them? What was the effects to that on the planet? And we've got to be able to answer that. And as we take the steps to answer it, what you will hear from Landus unwaveringly is that our farmers need compensated for that. Because I know for my wife and I, data is one of the most important things we have as a family. And how we protect that, but how we use that is important. And it's a much bigger story for all of you as farmers, because it is your livelihood. It is your way of life. And we've got to take a step forward on that front. Now, in that way of leaning into the future, I'm also excited to announce a new digital tool for all of you at Harvest. We will now be able to e-sign your contracts and other things needing signatures from Landus for you all. In light of COVID, in light of just efficiencies long term, this is an important step forward. So you'll get access to these contracts or signatures that you need in either customer portal or app. You'll get a text if you've signed up for that through the portal or app. You will get a text message alerting you that there's a document ready for you to sign. So we are continuing to advance our efficiencies, as I've mentioned, in each of the businesses in ways like this to help make you more efficient and help give us time back that all of us need as we look to the future as well. And especially, again, given things like COVID that just happened, we need to make sure we're always there to do that. So since we're right upon the fall season, I thought it would be good to also hear from your GMA or grain marketing advisor. For you all, Brian Martin is who holds that role. And Brian, I'd like to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about this fall season and some of the things that you're seeing from a grain perspective. Brian, the floor is yours.
So guys, we have a small change on a couple things here. Looks like our FM loads 1% below will be averaged together and 1.1 and above will be average. So we have a division there, along with damage. Loads 10% below will be average, and then 10.1 and above will be average. So that's not different, but we did want to highlight, the damage cutoff there. The main thing I just want to reach out to you guys and say is I've met most of you by now, but if I haven't, please reach out sometime. I'd love to get to know you more. The more I can know about you, the more I can help you. And we have a fantastic CSS team here. So a little bit biased, but one of the best in the company, I'd say. So just please reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to help you. And if whatever we need for grain marketing alternatives, I can help you out with that. We have a bunch of new contracts that we're trying to work with and different ways to customize, profit maximization for you guys. So please reach out, let us know how we can help. And anytime you guys want to sit down and talk through some of these things, let me know, and I'll be glad to either reach out to you virtually or come to your operation. So anything I can do, just let me know.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that and all the hard work you put in. And I'm really happy to hear you tout the great CSSs that we have in this area that we're on the phone with today. They're truly a valuable part of what you do and the other folks that are beside you in the grain business to help ensure our direction and our efforts with our farmers are correct. The last thing I have for you before we go to Q&A is that I want to make sure you have access to me as well. Although the company has been turned over to your local staff and they're doing great things in the very quick few months I've been here to get control back of the company and do the things that are right for our farmers, I think it's important that I'm also available to all of you. So I'm not hiding from you. I'm not running away. Here is my phone number and my email address. Feel free to reach out in either of those forms anytime you want to talk or compare some notes on things. I remind you, I'm not going to be the best one to answer your questions, but I'm sure that I'll help find the right solutions and be there to hear your concerns and things that we can do to ensure that we're delivering upon what you should be expecting and getting from us as your cooperative. So with that, Alicia, why don't we go to some Q&A quick? I think we've got a few minutes here for that. I know you've got a lot of gift cards to give out. So let's go right to that.
Well, if we don't have time to announce the gift cards, we'll call people and let them know, because I want to make sure we get through the information. That's the most important. So this question we received over email: how is Landus going to handle damaged or moldy corn based on derecho damage? Nobody wants to be docked to death was the way it was written. So how is Landus planning on handling moldy corn and off-grade, I guess you could call it off-grade corn?
Yeah, great question. And, with derecho, obviously, we're going to have more than we would like to see of that, of course. So I think we've made some good progress on this topic over the last few days with some feedback from a couple insurance companies and even talking a little bit with Secretary Nag and his staff. So, Don, I know you've spent a ton of time researching this, and I'll introduce you. Don King is our new EVP of grain. He leads that whole team. Joined us from a business that he owned in Northwest, I'd call it, Illinois, where he owned his own ethanol plant as one of the partners and owned his own grain business, agronomy, and energy over the years. So Don, I'll turn it over to you to make some comments on this and our findings.
So good morning, everyone. Glad to be part of today's webinar. So obviously we've seen, I've been a part of many droughts going back to 83, 88, and all the way through, and the wind events we've had since then. So the main message that I want to give today, if you have federal crop insurance, be proactive, get hold of your agent, have them come out and do a couple samples for you, or bring them into our elevators. Be proactive when we talk about toxins, mycotoxin, aflatoxin, any type of molds. You are covered on crop insurance when it comes with damage, low test weights, and all the toxins. So let's be proactive. Bring samples in at harvest time. If we happen to have a hot spot, we will sample and we will let you know right away if you have that. And then my recommendation is then to make sure you get hold of your agent immediately. And for you growers that have your own facilities, be proactive, get your samples checked before harvest. The last thing you want to do is get it in your bin and detect a problem. I believe you have a huge problem with crop insurance if that happens. So be proactive. The Landus people at the locations that are there to help you. And any questions as this goes down the road, we'll be glad to help you with it. You know, it's an emotional time out there today when we look at our crops and what's going on, and then we have these things come in. But my main message is work with your crop insurance agent, the Landus people, and we're here to serve you.
Thanks, Don. And a quick question for you, Don. If a farmer has any technical questions on getting onto a webinar, should they call you or avoid you?
So obviously my first time to being on one of these webinars. When you own your own business, you know, you're kind of pampered a little bit. I had all kinds of people taking care of me, and I am the worst technology-driven person in the world other than emails. But I'm good in the field, and that's the part I love. So that's part of my problem, Matt. I like being out in the country too much.
Well, that's why we're here. We're glad to have you, and you've helped lead that grain team to some new heights. And I know our journey's not over. So thanks, Don. Alicia, what else do we have for questions?
Okay, so just a quick reminder before I read this next one, you can use the GoToWebinar tool. There's a little questions box. You can type your questions in there, or you can raise your hand. There's a tool, and I can unmute you, so whatever you're comfortable with. So this next question is also a derecho question. How is Landus handling new crop contracts if the drought and the windstorm prevent a grower from fully fulfilling the contract?
Yeah, good question. And Brian, why don't we turn that over to you to talk a little bit about some of your thoughts on this topic. And then Don, if you've got anything that you want to add at the end of that, we can do that as well. So Brian, the floor is yours.
So lately we were just trying to kind of assess where we're actually at. I mean, I know everybody's really scared. The condition, you know, looks terrible. So what we ask is that you just work with us. Let us know what's going on. Give us a picture of what you're looking at. Let us know what you think or how short you might be. And then let's look what we can have this fall and kind of see how close we can get to filling those contracts. But just give us a heads up and let us work with you. We'll make sure to treat you right. And again, you're our owner, so we're going to, you know, treat you the best we can.
Yeah, very well said. Don, is there anything you want to add to that from a grain perspective?
No, I think the main thing is communication. Make sure you reach out to us. We'll do a great job working with you. You know, a lot of these things probably aren't going to be determined until you get in the field. But all I can say is communicate. We're going to work with you. We understand the problem, and, you know, we're here to serve.
Both were very well answered. Thank you. Alicia, what else do we have?
The only other thing that I have, and we're gonna try to follow up with folks one-on-one on their gift cards, because it's just, the list is really long, and I'm not gonna try to mess with that on this call with so many folks getting up to the end of time. But we are having our crop tour results webinar on September 2nd. You can join at 7:30 or 5 p.m., either one of those times. So it'll be a setup just like this. Brian and Don and the rest of the team are headed out to every single township in our 26 counties next week to pull some samples and hopefully give, us a better idea of what we're looking at, give you a better idea of what you're looking at, and hopefully kind of like Matt talked about at the beginning, put some spotlight on a national level on what you guys are seeing. So I don't have any other questions. Matt, I'll leave it to you for a wrap up.
Thanks, Alicia, and thanks to the rest of the team. This was good to share, and we appreciate your engagement, farmers. As the owners of our company, once again, it's important to have you a part of this journey. I assure you, this team wakes up every day thinking about you and what they can do to help advance your business as your cooperative. And I hope you see that or have seen that. And if you don't, I want to know about it, because this is the journey we must be on, putting you in the center of every decision and action we take with empowered employees that are leaning into the future of where this big industry of ag now tied into food, fuels, fiber, and the likes. So thank you for giving us a chance to visit with you today. We hope you have a great Friday. And if you have any needs of us, just please let us know. Take care.